Well, hello. So today I am making some changes to my workflow. I've been not very happy with the way Jupyter Notebooks work. Uh, I I've been starting them up from terminal as a background process, but they still spit out messages, console messages, so the terminal becomes pretty much unusable. And so that's annoying. And there are some other annoyances. For example, cut and paste work very funny uh, on Jupyter Lab and Jupyter Notebook. Uh, so the other thing is that I find I'm switching around from window to window all the time. So sometimes I want to be in my terminal. Other times I want to be in my Jupyter Notebook, which is running on my browser. Sometimes I want my browser open on half of my screen and my Jupyter Notebook open on the other half, and it just doesn't seem to work very well. So I thought, let me see what I can do with VS Code because Visual Studio Code has it's set up to use Jupyter Notebooks. And not only that, there's a lot of functionality in VS Code that I'm not getting just using Vim in the terminal. And I still get all of my Vim keystrokes and so on within VS Code. So I don't think I'll be losing any functionality. I'll just be gaining functionality by using VS Code. So let's run over to the desktop here and go to VS Code, and let's see what I can show you about this. So the first thing is I went in and I changed my color theme. So this little settings icon here, we'll bring this up and you can go in and you can set your color theme from here. It didn't have a setting that I liked, however, so I used the extensions instead. And so I just searched for black theme. And there are a bunch of them. And I ended up choosing, what was it that I chose? Maybe it was this one. Should have should have a little thing next to it to show that it's active. All right, this is the one that's enabled globally. This one. So it's got some nice looking colors here that are easy on my eye, and it has the black background. I want maximum contrast between the background and the foreground. It just makes it easier to read. And then I don't have to have my characters be too bright. Right? I just make sure that's the one that's set. Uh, just to double check that that's the one that's actually being used. And you'll see that these colors of the characters are not that bright compared to some of the others. And yet they're quite easy to see. All right, so that's setting the theme. The other thing is you need to get the right font installed. So once again, we go into settings here, and if we choose this guy, this opens the settings.json. These are all the settings are stored in JSON format. However, the ones that are personal are stored in a separate JSON setting.json file, which only has a few settings. And you'll see here that I chose the Meslo LGM Nerd font for my terminal setting. Now you do have to download and install that if that's the one you want to use. But what's the importance of this? The importance here is that let me pull up a terminal here with control left, single quote. And then I'll make it full screen with control right, single quote. You'll see here that I have some special characters here because of my prompt. I'm using power level 10K as my prompt. And so I want to make sure that I have these special characters in the font that I've selected. And so that's why I changed that to the nerd font. And there are a number of nerd fonts that can be used that have all of the characters that you would want for this. So I just installed that Meslo font by moving it into my, I guess it's my .font directory. And then, let's see. .fonts. So if you move the fonts into here, then they become available. Let's go back where we were. And so a couple of things about this. I'm using OhmyZSH. So for example, when I start to type, I automatically am getting completion suggestions. I also have, if I hit Control R, I get the fuzzy search results from my history. So I can scroll through here and choose one of these if that's what I want. Also, if I type something that's wrong, like this, it'll show up in red, and that means that it's not a valid command. Yeah, like H is a valid command. That's an alias that will give me my history. So all this stuff comes with OhmyZSH, which to me is a very important. Well, ZSH is very important. You can actually get all the functionality of OhmyZSH without using OhmyZSH. You can add the aliases yourself, and the file completion stuff, you can add that yourself. But OhmyZSH just makes it easy, and it seems to work well. And I see no great disadvantage to using it. I have a fairly powerful system, and I'm not running into any problems with it. Another thing is you can see that from my power level 10K prompt, you can see that I have some GitHub issues here. I've got some files that need to be committed and pushed. And so what I can do here is I can come into Git, and I've got a couple of things that have been changed, and I can commit them, and I can do a git add or stage them. If they're new files, they have to do a git add, and then I can put in a commit message, and then I think it was Control Enter for that. All right, so, and then you'll see that the Git is happy. It doesn't have those things anymore. Why is this showing? It's still showing up here though. Boy, I don't know what's so large there. It's taking so long. Of course, I've got. Yeah, I don't understand what could be so large. Take a look at this. Well, I just don't see anything in here that's very large that a Git push would. possibly take so long? Of course, it's running out of space up here. Well, I apologize for this taking so long. We can talk about some other things here. Of course, I have full debugging now, and so once again, let me go over these key presses here for the terminal, which are the control left single quote, oh, I don't have permission to write for this, do I? No, I do have permission to write for this. I'll have to look into this because I'm using SSH, and it may be that there's a problem with SSH with this shell. No, I got in there easily enough. All right, so not sure why this was declined. Well, what I can do for a quick test is I can open up another terminal here, plain old ordinary terminal, and go to the transformers directory here and do a git push. And this seems to be hung also. It's not allowing. Says it's writing objects, so I'm not really sure. Unless I somehow manage to get something really large in this directory that I'm not seeing, and it's too large to push. Let me check something here. Let me do a git status. Gee, I just don't know. Du. Yeah, I'm not sure about this. Not sure what's going on here. I'll have to take some time to figure this out later. Uh, but in the meantime, uh, yeah, so going over those keys here, I'm able to get my terminal with the control left single just like that. And that's pretty good. And I can get rid of this guy over here so that I have a nice large terminal here. And then when I want to go back to my editor, here it is. Here's my editor. And close the settings. All right, so here is here's a Jupyter notebook, and you'll see here that if I click over here, I get it's the same thing as hitting escape, and if I hit enter, I get this kind of bicycle tire thing here, which shows that I'm in command mode here, so I can run this with Control Enter, and it'll show what's in there, and go to the next one here, click in there, I get the little bicycle tire, and I can run that. So close this up. How do you start a file? So you can go File, New, and this will give me a new file. And this is actually a Python file. And because I have Vim emulation as one of my extensions, Vim emulations, I highly recommend it. I have to hit A for a pen. See how the cursor changes its shape, and now I can do a shebang / bin env Python. See, I get tab 9 completions here. That's another this guy here. This is another extension, and it's quite helpful. And so I'm not sure how it knew that this was going to be Python. All right, well, anyway, that's fine, but I wanted an IPython notebook, and this didn't give me one. Well, you can go to View, Command Palette here, and type in Jupyter. And here it says Create New Blank Notebook. And there we go. There's a new notebook. And so I can hit Enter. Click here. Hit Enter. Get that little bicycle tire over here. And now X equals 4 plus 37 here. And then Shift, Enter will run it. And then X, Shift, Enter. This is giving me a name error. Find right up here. That's very strange. I have no idea what's causing this. Let me actually delete this. I'm hitting DD to delete it here. Not sure what this is here. I'm gonna delete this entirely. And let me just close this up. I don't need this. Don't save. Go back up here into Command Palette, create a Jupyter Notebook. Hit Enter. All right, I hit the plus key here, and it gave me a new cell, and something equals 2 plus 9. Enter. And then over here, all right, so that's working. So I don't know what I did. Maybe it was spacing was wrong or something like that the first time. So there's my Jupyter notebook, and I can do all the Jupyter stuff that I want to in here, and it works pretty much the same way. One nice feature is that I can come up here and I can copy like this, and I can paste like this using my trackpad, and that works. And that does not work in the normal Jupyter Notebook. You have to use Control C and Control V, and if you're cutting and pasting, you don't want to have to move from the trackpad to the keyboard and then back to the trackpad again. This just makes life much, much easier. And everything else works the same. We have this trusted up here because this is my directory that I'm writing code in, so I'm trusting it. Which means that if you find some Jupyter Notebooks that you want to look at, you can run them as not trusted, and it will not run any hidden code or anything like that. So you get an added level of security by using VS Code here. So that's another good thing about this. And then, let's see. So we went over Vim and the hotkeys and Git and so on. So how am I going to use this with my browser? So if I pull up my browser here, let's see, I've got this on a different workspace. So I'm just going to hold down the super key and the shift key and hit the down arrow so that they're on the same screen, and I can actually pull this over and switch these guys around. Like, well, what's happened here? Put that over there. So now, if I come in here, for example, I'm running a tutorial, and let's say I want to get a better look at this, I can hold the super key down and hit M, and that'll maximize it, and then I can unmaximize it there. And then if I use the super key and the left-right arrows, see how it moves that highlight? Now I can hold the super key down and hit M and maximize that and bring it back. For some reason, this wants to stay on the right side of the screen here. If I do, I think it's super J with super Y. Well, that switched them around. Super Y switched them around. And now let's try the super M again. Yeah, that worked. And then super left arrow, super M. That worked. So these are things that I do all day long. Maximize so that I can watch something, a video or something like that. And then unmaximize it. I don't want to say minimize it because it's not. I use super H to hide the window. So when I minimize, that's what I think of as minimizing. It's actually hiding the window. But maximize and unmaximize all day long. And so I do that both with the terminal and with the browser. And this allows me to do that very easily with just memorizing a few simple key presses. And they're easy to remember. Super M for maximize is not hard to remember. Super left arrow to move and super right arrow to move that highlighting to show which window is active. That's easy to remember. The more difficult ones to remember are the control left single quote to bring up the terminal, and the control right single quote to move the terminal to the bottom panel so I can see both my editor and my terminal at the same time. But that's two keystrokes, and they're both single quotes working with the control key. So how dim-witted would I have to be to not be able to remember those? And so I think I have all the functionality now on my ZSH, from my Power Level 10K prompt, all my plugins and whatnot, all seem to be working perfectly fine with this particular terminal. And let's see if I can split this terminal here. I can split the terminal also. So if I want a second terminal, I can do it. And therefore, I think I have just about all of the functionality that I have using my normal terminator, which is terminal, which is Terminator. I don't see any loss of functionality so far. Anyway, I hope you found this interesting. Once again, we can take a quick look at the extensions that I'm using. So, you know, most of these guys. Oh, that's why I'm not seeing it here. So under installed, most of these I'm not using, even though they're installed. This one is the editor config. I think this is a good one. I haven't really played with it yet, but it's for setting. I think the way this works is if your code is out of whack, the indentations and such, I think this will just fix that for you, which is a problem with Python. Python has very strict rules for indenting. The font switcher, I think I'm probably going to disable this one. I haven't used it yet. I don't think I'm going to. Git history is enabled here. PyTest didn't seem to work. So when I set up Python, one of the things that one has to do is to set up the tests. That's this here for unit testing, and PyTest did not work. So I'm probably going to get rid of that. So instead, what did I do? I used what is that one called? The one that was underneath it. So if I go up to View, Command Palette, Configure Tests, here I use nose. Over here, and I put it in the root directory, the dot directory here. And installed, I forget if I installed using Conda or pip. I don't think it matters particularly, and then you can actually run the tests. Click on this guy here, and then here are the tests. There's this discover tests, and it'll discover all the unit tests for Python installation, and then you can run them and see here that they pass. So if you have problems with your installation, this should find that for you. Let's see what else we have here. I put in tab 9, which is, and also Python IntelliSense. This helps you with auto completion. And what is this? I also have this toggle Zen mode, which is this guy up here, which gets rid of all that stuff. When you're busy coding, if you don't want to see all that, you can get rid of it. There's also a keystroke for this, but it's a strange one, and I think that just makes it easier. I'm going to do a super M to make that bigger. And then what else here? I guess that's it. So I have some icons that I put in there, and that's about it. I think that this is going to enhance my workflow. I should become more productive, have more tools at my fingertips, and not suffer from this. It's going to be tough initially staying away from the Terminator terminal here. But you know, hopefully I can do that and make this work. So I thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Hit the like button. Comment if there's something that I didn't cover or that confused you. that you'd like to know about, and I thank you for watching.